Hello and welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim, I'm joined by Kirsty. How are you?
I'm still trying to recover. As we go to film, we've just come off the Australia Day weekend, which in Melbourne was something a little bit more special as well.
It was very warm as well.
Oh yes, it's always very warm around here. You should get used to it now, Tim. Just get an extra air conditioner.
Melbourne weather.
But yes, we did have, of course, the Global Game Jam, which is running around the world, but very nicely falls on the long weekend for us. So we technically do get that extra day to calm down, but we generally waste it. Sit on the beach or something. So we've got some great coverage coming up for you in the middle of the show.
Yes.
I mean, 48 hours to make a game. Could you do it, Tim?
No, not at all. It's a very impressive feat. A lot of these games coming out of Global Game Jam are actually really good. And it's surprising how well they can do.
And a lot of them will be available on things like the iOS store and the Android store as well. So you can also get lots more information out of that. But we've also got some cool stuff for you.
Yeah, later on in the show, we've got Bravely Default, a 3DS review. So a lot of cool stuff coming out for 3DS owners in particularly Japanese RPGs. And Bravely Default seems to be one of those good Squeenix ones.
It really does. Like, I don't know, we had a trailer for this quite a while ago, and I think both of us were mutually impressed.
Yeah, it has been out in Japan for a long time, but it's finally here in Australia, so we get to have a look at that later on in the show. But first up, something that's really close to my heart, Blizzard game, Hearthstone. We're having a look at the open beta, so yes.
Here at New Game Plus are very much a Magic the Gathering crew, as you can probably tell from our Planeswalkers Plus segment. However, we do like our collectible card games, and Tim and I have been playing the most recent one, Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft from Blizzard. They've been going through their beta as of recent and have just opened it up to the public.
Yes, Hearthstone, I've really been enjoying it so far.
What stone?
Hearthstone.
Is that like Hearthstone?
No, Hearthstone.
That's a big callback. Go on.
Different game. So, of course, I'm not particularly into Magic. I haven't played it before, but this is, from what I understand, a simpler version of Magic. You've played it, though.
Yeah, indeed. It is a much more speedier version. You can probably finish up a game in 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. It's partially due to the fact that you don't have to have creatures as blockers. You can constantly deal direct damage to the other guy's face. Having said that, though, there are a wide variety of cards to try and temper that. Cards that can effectively act as blockers, cards that can remove creatures, cards that can just straight up deal damage to the other guy's face. So there is a lot of variety in deck building.
Yes. And certainly building those decks, it is a free-to-play game, so you can buy booster packs and get extra cards and all that. But that said, if you complete your daily quests, you can earn these cards, earn the gold, and end up building quite a good deck out of just playing for free.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, I managed to build I like to hope it's a decent rogue weapon deck, rather using just the stuff that I've earned from buying boosters, using the in-game currency.
Yep.
As well as that, it does have a nice cycle for its free-to-players, and you can complete the daily quests so that you can compete in one of the main draws for Hearthstone Arena mode, which is a mode that allows you to draw a random deck of about 30 cards, and from there compete and try and get as many wins as possible before losing 3 and striking out.
And certainly Arena mode is one of the more exciting modes because it's a risk-reward situation. You can either spend $2 real money or I think 150 gold to enter into the arena, and the better you do, the longer you last, the better the rewards. So if you go own free and just knock right out, you're not going to get very good rewards, and it'll be costing like bad players money or gold to enter.
Like any collectible or trading card game, there is a massive skill wall. It's sort of, maybe it's just a personal experience, but it is sort of disheartening to try to go 0-5 in play mode or to go 1 and out in arena mode. So pretty much my main complaint about Hearthstone is that I suck at it. But having said that, there is enough enough variety in the cards, enough visual splendor in the presentation, because it is a well-presented game. It's kind of like Peggle in that regard. It just it hooks into you.
Yeah, so Blizzard, I think they've got a really good thing going here. It's still open beta, so you can try it out. This is obviously not a full review. We'll have a look at it down the track, but certainly a lot of fun at the moment.
I very much like it so far. Yeah, it sits well alongside Magic the Gathering.
Now I'm joined by Nathan Hawkins, who one day decided, you know what, I'm going to make a trading card game, and thus before us we have Conjure. Nathan, why? Like, what inspired you to make it?
Well, I had always had an idea or a concept that I wanted to put into action. It's something that I've really worked on over the last 3 years. Obviously, a lot more has happened over the last year compared to the first 2 years. But I've always enjoyed playing card games. I just felt like there wasn't really anything new game for a little while, and I just felt that we could add a few elements that were very new to it, and it was just something that I've always had in the back of my mind.
You've taken a lot of I guess mechanics that people know. Yeah, you've got your own evolution system. You've got all these kinds of things that people would be familiar with from, say, Pokemon. You get all these kind of elements. Then you've taken it and made it your own. You've got the board involved. I mean, was it hard figuring out what you wanted to go with and what you thought would be better off left behind?
Definitely, yeah. It was probably the first year was all about the rulebook. We had way too many elements at the beginning, way too complicated, too many systems going, too hard to learn. However, we think that we've got it back down to really, you just want your minimum. You want the game to flow, you want it to work, and at the end of the day, the board can look however it looks, and the cards can look fantastic, but it just comes down to the gameplay.
Now, as far as the gameplay goes, it's called Conjure, so I assume that you conjure things.
Spirits.
Give us a quick rundown of how you go about playing the game.
Okay, well, how it works is you conjure spirits to the field. On your field, you have 6 conjure squares. What happens is that as each spirit gets conjured to the field, you will then take up 1 conjure square. When you play spell or counter cards, that also takes up a conjure square, so there's a little bit of balance there. If you have 6 spirits on the field, then you can't fit any spells, and vice versa. And the idea is that there's 2 ways to win. You can reduce your opponent's health points to 0, or your opponent runs out of cards, or, which is a little bit different, is where it's a bit of capture the flag. You take your spirit across the board to your opponent's side, and you take one of their conjure squares, you occupy it for 2 turns, and you can actually win the battle that way.
I guess you're on Kickstarter. You're at the point now where people are interested in it. You've got the word out. Why Kickstarter? Why did you decide that it was the next step to try and push you guys above?
Well, it was Kickstarter is a fantastic organisation. It really is an amazing setup. It was something that I'm fairly new to as well. It is my first time on Kickstarter, and I just felt that it was a great way to get the players involved, get them involved early. It's also fantastic value for them for with the rewards tiers, and it's just a great way of getting out there, and it's in a really good format that people are comfortable with. With this, we have cross types, so that you generally have a deck based on 2 different types. The types are fairly generic, warrior, demon, etc. But where you're actually encouraged to is if you happen to have a knight warrior deck and you happen to find a demon card that has a really cool effect, you can put that in that deck and it's fully functional. You're not disadvantaged, and you have that flexibility.
There you go. It sounds very, very cool. Nathan, thank you very much for joining us, and best of luck with Conjure.
No worries. Thank you.
It is time for the Indie Wrap, and we are here on location at the Melbourne Global Game Jam, an annual event where developers from all around the world gather to create a game within 48 hours based on a theme. This year's theme is we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So there are many potential opportunities to interpret this theme. Let's go see how they've done it. Firstly, we have Checkmates, which takes the perception theme rather to its spirit. It's a co-op game with 2 players who can see certain elements of the level that the other can't see, and you have to try and guide each other to your respective endpoints. So you may have a spike on your screen that the other player can't see, it's constantly running into, so you have to communicate with them through a series of grids. It's really fun to play with 2 people in particular, to have them just cooperate, yell at each other. It's a sort of game where by the end you really do want to high-five the other person.
I'm James Greenaway, and I worked on a game called Checkmates. We were deliberating both titles, and we ended up calling it Checkmate. My teammates started developing this concept, and I had a completely different concept. And then that concept just started developing really quickly, and I don't know, I just started working on art mainly for the game. It was supposed to make the players think that it was just a normal cooperative game. So when you first start the game, both players can kind of see everything that's happening in the stages, but then after about 3 or 4 stages in, you start realizing that half of the things are invisible to the other player. But you don't know that they're invisible because you can't see what they can see. So you're just watching your teammate kind of run into a wall of spikes, and he doesn't really understand that he's making a mistake, and vice versa. You know, sometimes when you have too many people working on a project in a small amount of time, you can really get people pulling the game in different directions. But both times I've game jammed, I've found it really, everybody just kind of does what they're good at, you know, and it's a very harmonious kind of production over the 48 hours.
Up next, we have Adversarial Manifesto, a two-player sort of bullet hell game where you're trying to shoot each other and dodge each other's words. The main thing here is that the things that you're throwing at each other are indeed words that are coming from a randomly generated dictionary on either side of the screen. You eventually form sentences with the words that you form, so you end up just with these bizarre combinations of nonsense sentences like brain freeze, it's the way of the future. Get some good value out of just the strings of nonsense that come out of it. And it is also fun to try and just dodge a stream of exclamation points, which is, I guess, it's sort of apt for a shoot 'em up.
My name's Andrew Maxwell. We made a game called Adversarial Manifesto. Well, we had a lot of trouble coming up with a game that fit the theme completely. We're talking about perception and where that was getting us. We didn't come up with anything. It was fun. We spent most of our time just talking about how much we didn't like the theme and how it was about pretentious philosophical quotes in general. So we made a game about pretentious philosophers trying to come up with deep and meaningful quotes. Basically all of today has just been iterating. We spent the first day just talking. The second day was just flat out development. And the second day has just been playing the game and tweaking it and having fun.
What's the most nonsense phrase off the top of your head that you come up with that's been formed out of this game?
Shotgun is purple? No, I don't know. They're all nonsense. The challenge is coming up with something meaningful.
Finally, we have Screen Cheat, a 4-player multiplayer shooter where the main conceit is that everyone is invisible. The only way to sort of find out where everyone is in the map is to screen cheat, to look on each other's corner of the map and use the colors and the various details in the environment to determine where they are and to point your shotgun right there. It was one of the more popular games here at the Game Jam, primarily because of all the bright, happy colors, but also as the potential to be a fun little multiplayer experience.
Yeah, I'm Justin. I worked on.
It's called Screen Cheat.
Yeah, it's called Screen Cheat.
This is
and
just
it's been a long couple of days.
Yeah. We got a pretty tricky theme this year, and we were really throwing around a bunch of different ideas to do with like different perspectives of the world, different characters would see different things. We weren't sure how we were going to make it work. On split screen, we were worried that people would just look at the other screen and it'd ruin the experience. So then at one point we just thought, what if we made a game about screen cheating? And then we got Screen Cheat.
I think it took us about 2 hours or so to.
I think it was longer than that.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours of just idea making before we settled that we wanted something along these lines, and then from there it developed fairly quickly to the form we have now, and we got our initial map design, which was similar to what we ended up with.
It was just a really fun experience, and then it was really great just kind of discovering, because it was, for me anyway, it was my first game jam full stop, and it was really cool to just discover that I could make, and me and groups of friends could make actually something really cool and really fun in like 2 days.
So as you saw, there were many interesting and varied interpretations on this year's theme, and indeed there was a lot of room for it. You can check out some of these games and indeed all the other games that were displayed at this year's Game Jam on the Global Game Jam website. So that does it for this edition of the Indie Wrap. Come back next time where we explore more things from the wonderful world of indie.
excellent job by Nicolas Cantin. I'm probably butchering that, but I do apologise.
It's okay.
It's okay. All right, you're the lead developer on the Thief game that's coming out recently. Now, it's interesting for you guys. You were responsible for the Deus Ex Human Revolution game, which of course followed on from the classic Deus Ex. You're coming up, second time at bat on a classic franchise. Are you worried? Like, or do you think the experience of the previous ones is going to help you out a lot?
No, I think that the experience within the studio with Deus Ex helped us to have a lot of confidence by bringing a new legendary IP. And I think Thief is really a good one to bring back. And no, I think that the success of Deus Ex was really a proof that we're able to do that. And now the studio is really happy about to release the new Thief.
Is it always worrying to think of, you've got all these old fans who are very set in their ways, but you've still got to make it approachable? Is it hard trying to find that right balance of approachability versus homage, if you will?
Yeah, I think it was a good challenge. But the goal was really to respect what was the Thief game. So on that side, it's a stealth game, and on that side we are making sure that the fan will be pleased because we are fan ourselves, and it was really important that the game was challenging, but also with the new navigation controls and things, all the possibility we give to the player, because a lot of things are to the player's choice, and I think will attract both of the extremities. But it's still a Thief game. It's a Thief experience, and on that side you play the Master Thief, and this is what we want to deliver as a fantasy.
And you've brought back things like the water arrows, those classic kind of touches. Is it important to allow people to play it their way? I think that's the thing I've picked up from speaking to you and from seeing this. It's about allowing people to play the game the way they feel.
Completely. We let them. We have like the basic tools, and after that it's to them to upgrade what they want. So like if you're more a stealth player, you're gonna buy all your upgrades about the stealth gameplay, and it's really it's something. The freedom of choice was really important for us. And on that side, it's something we've pushed really far.
Now, one of the other very cool things about the game is the ability to pick, I guess, a custom difficulty. So you've got your basics, your easy, medium, hard, but then there's custom where you can choose like how expensive things are. You can turn off reticules, all that kind of stuff. Is it just to add that extra level of challenge to the game for those who really think they're up for it?
Yeah, I think Thief is already a competitive game, a challenging game, but if you want more challenge, you can do. And you were talking about the hardcore fans. I think they're gonna find their challenge there. They can completely dress the game as they want. You can get rid of the whole HUD if you want. We give plenty of options, customization. We have the difficulty levels, but within those, we have customization. A little bit inspired by the PC game. Since Thief was so much coming from the PC universe. So on that side, it's something we wanted to give. And I think that the hardcore fan will really be pleased about that.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
I have a surprise for the whole family. A free trip to the aquarium!
Who's that man with the three-piece suit?
These games are for children!
To the car, kids!
Yay! Who's that man with the 8 strong legs?
What are you doing?
Tried to make me breakfast, but it broke my eggs. Nobody suspects a thing.
How did you beat me?
Honey, are you all right? Don't worry, we're here for you.
Sometimes when I get scared, I pretend I'm something brave, like a cloudosaurus or a hippogriff. Do you ever get scared, Dad?
You have them beguiled, octopus.
Are you an old friend of my husband's? What can you tell me about him?
Everything!
Kids, have you seen your father? It's almost closing time. Where could he be?
Hey kids, want to learn about sharks?
Now, I feel like I'm missing an in-joke here. This game seems like one of those games where there was some funny mention at a convention, or there's been a previous game before it.
Yeah.
This doesn't make it bad. It just makes me want to learn more.
It's a strange premise, but it is very cute in a way it
and why does
presents
he
itself.
move around so funny? I'm really interested to know why I understand he's an octopus, but how do the controls actually, it's like a Katamari thing where you have to move the two sticks in tandem, and that's why he gets all like,
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting game, and it was one of the big exciting indie games for the PS4, and it's coming out on Steam very soon.
Yay!
Well, Shaney, it's safe to assume that the PlayStation Vita has quite the hold over the JRPG market, as well as the PSP if you're still in Japan, but thankfully Square Enix has a bit of a retort for that, and that's in the form of Bravely Default.
Yes, it's the story of 4 children as they fight against the anti-crystalism and they try to save the world using, guess what? Crystals.
Yeah, so being a fan of Final Fantasy, I'd rather throw all that in the window. I reject your reality and just say it's a bunch of 4 warriors of light. Sounds familiar enough. So basically, you have a character, you jump into the role of Tiz. So he is a villager who's, unfortunately, his village has been sunken. He manages to meet a wind vestal called Agnes, who is quite an integral part of the story. I can't really say much without spoiling it, but it turns out that you gather with 2 other people and you go around fighting monsters, fighting bosses, collecting a lot of loot, and exploring the hell.
And leveling up.
Oh, and leveling up as well. I mean, it's got absolutely everything. But what did you find fantastic about it?
I think the combat system is one of the main things we do have to bring up. It's one of the things, yes, you'll feel it's very not original. It's always got that, same 4 people lining up, speed, all your tributes. But the whole Brave and Default is just brings so much to the table.
Prefer me to explain it? Or
Do you want
Okay, so basically the Brave Default system allows you a bit of a combination between attacking and defending. You have these points called Brave points, which allow you to exhaust all at once if you prefer, but unfortunately that leaves you open to enemy attack. But instead of attacking, if you prefer to go on the defensive side, the default system allows you to defend, but also gain Brave points.
So it's mostly just like stocking up turns that you can use later on, or you can just take 4 turns straight first round. So
I found that alleviates a lot of the grinding worries. Like if you wanted to find, if there was one JRPG that made grinding fun, and I know that's a bit of an oxymoron, Bravely Default is your game because you can get experience done in one fell sweep.
Yeah, and also one thing I do love, freaking art in this game.
Oh yes,
man.
the art is beautiful, both in game and the concept art as well. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Every character has their own. They have jobs as well, so you can actually jump in. So if you're a fan of Final Fantasy III and other Final Fantasy titles like Tactics and Final Fantasy XIV, you know exactly what the job system is. You have different roles such as like White Mage, Black Mage, monks, that sort of thing. And all the art is just brilliant as well. Everything just looks lush, beautiful, fantastic.
They've got Japanese and English voices, which is one thing that made me just love this game.
Yes,
I'm not a fan of English voices, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, you haven't seen, you can certainly do a lot worse than that. But unfortunately, the story does fall a little bit flat. There is a lot of sexual innuendo there, which I actually like a lot, but we'll skip past that. Yeah, that's just, yeah, exactly. So, unfortunately, the story does feel a bit predictable in some ways, but everything else about it I just absolutely loved.
There is a big twist at the end, I believe, that you might not have reached yet, but God, it is a good game.
Bravely indeed.
So the year of the Luigi seems to really be extending into 2014.
Yes.
Really good games on the 3DS.
It's been a really good 2013 for 3DS. Maybe not so much for the Wii U.
But anyway, I'm going to go back onto something I love to harp on about, your 3DS. So you own 3DS, but you have a very limited collection.
Yes.
Would you play by... Oh, okay. So didn't even get through the name and it was boom, shut down.
I just think Square Enix JRPGs, it's a bit much for me to dive right in.
You know what? As you are very white at times, and so I can understand that. And I would almost recommend maybe a Kingdom Hearts to kind of soften the blow into JRPGs.
Like Fire Emblem and stuff seem really interesting as well. That'd be something that I'd like to get in on. But Dota and Hearthstone just take up so much of my time nowadays.
Well, yeah, because Dota's legitimate now, isn't it?
New patch is coming out, 6.8. Get excited. Blink Dagger, no mana. That means nothing to you, but I'm excited.
This sounds great.
Very excited.
That's nice, dear. Leave it now. I'll stick with my 3DS, and you stick your PC games, and we'll meet each other.
And all is well with the world.
Exactly. All is going very well. But we do have some pretty cool content coming up for you now, because there's something that's kind of hanging over your head at the moment.
Yeah, a little. The Battle Arena Melbourne is coming up, so getting very excited about that.
Very excited for that. So we're going to be doing so much at this event. So we really come down, come battle it out.
Say hello.
Yes, definitely say hello. Because otherwise it's pretty quiet event season really at the moment.
There's not much coming up.
And a lot of quiet games as well. It's a bit quiet game-wise as well. Everything's a bit like, are you ready? Because E3 is now what? 4 months away?
Yeah, it's getting pretty close. I'm getting excited.
So you're going to be there, aren't you? Or you think you are?
Very excited.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm excited for you because I have to stay at home and feed the cats. But anyway, let's wrap it up.
Yes, so visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV.
And follow Twitter at NewGamePlusTV.
Thank you so much, Timmy. I'll let you go back to your patch, is it, on Dota? Yay!